Home is where connections are made, memories are formed, and ideas are born. And no one knows home better than NFM. Thanks for tuning in to I Am Home, the podcast that goes deeper than trends and dives into what it means to make your house a home.
Well, welcome. It's another episode of I Am Home podcast with Tyler Weiskup and
Hilary Waltema.
And we're at Sara and Scott Baker's house. The podcast, as you can hear, is out of studio. Cars are driving by. So we're going to hop in and go through a home tour of Sara and Scott Baker's house, learn a little bit about intentional living and how they've made this space theirs. So come on, let's go. We're walking and talking. We're going to try to nail this thing in 20 minutes. This is one take.
Well, welcome.
Hey there.
Come on in.
How are you?
I am so good. Oh my gosh. You guys, this space is so amazing. We were just doing like a little pre-walkthrough before we came in. So we've just been blown away by it so far. And I wonder if you can tell us a little bit about what you did in designing this entryway, this living space that you've got here.
So the house is brand new. It looks like an old building, but we built it new. And we love to entertain, and we like to have a lot of people over. So we thought we wanted to live in one big space. And we had an apartment downtown that was similar to this.
Yeah.
So it's a 1,200 square foot living room, but it's all of our rooms. Everything is here. And we didn't want anything in the room. There's not a coat closet. There's no upper cabinets. We didn't really want anything on the walls. So there's lots of room and lots of places to sit and lots of places for people to gather. And we've done dinner party for 18 and we had an engagement party for 50.
I know.
So we like packed the place full, but it's really, we wanted to bring people here and enjoy yourself and spend time together.
Yeah, I think this space is so warm and inviting. I really love it. One of the things that we talked about when we've had you on the podcast before is about your DIY projects, your guest hosts specializing on that kind of stuff. And we talked about that famous bowling table that you made. Can you tell us a little bit about this?
So the bowling table, Sara was on Facebook Marketplace and she found this big hunk of bowling alley. So we went to pick it up, and luckily the person that we bought it from had a truck that could haul it because it's too big for our Subaru. And we brought it home, and some friends of mine, we had worked together at NFM. Yeah. We took it to his garage and made it into this table. And it was pretty straightforward. It took just a morning.
You've got the lane markers on here, and you were telling me about like bolts that you were able to kind of like...
Yeah, so the lane markers are on there. This is from the original piece, and these little circles are all over it, are the bolts that bolt it to the floor. And this lane marker here is painted on, because I didn't realize how thin they were. And when I was sanding the table with like a floor sander, I looked like, one's missing. So I had to paint that one on. It's not great, but it's pretty good.
It looks perfect.
But the table's the table's a little beat up, but our friends come and we have dinner and
got a little gash here that's filled in.
Someone slides something across the table, knocks a glass over. We don't care.
Yeah.
It's what it's for. So it's made to use.
Yeah. It looks fantastic. Okay, let's move on because we're trying to keep this timely.
Okay.
You've got so many things over here. We're talking about like the upholstered chairs, the ones that like you ran out of fabric and you had to like find this material on the back here.
So Sara found the chairs. One was pink and one was like lime green. It's vinyl. Terrible. And I couldn't believe we were buying them when we bought them.
Yeah.
So she also found this fabric. We have many bolts of fabric in the basement.
Yeah.
So we put this fabric on there and we got the chairs to where they are after complete rebuild.
Yeah.
And then we found out we didn't have enough fabric to do the back.
Yeah.
So we did a plywood back and it stained, and we kind of like them better now.
Yeah.
So
if you're listening on the podcast, it's like you got this industrial look, and you've got for the arms the chair portion of itself is kind of like a reddish, how would you
It's
describe
like
it?
a burgundy mohair. We thought it was just velvet, but we think it's mohair fabric, and it's got this great wood back on it, and it's got the screws that hold it on. They're silver, and I would have loved to have the chairs be in chrome, but it's a whole thing, and it's expensive, and but they're great chairs, and they're really comfortable. People love to sit in them, and they're beauty shop chairs. So it's like you're at the beauty shop if you sit.
Fantastic.
If you sit there long enough, you'd be beautiful, I guess, right? I sit in them all the time. It's not working, but.
Okay. Last thing I want to cover while we're in here, before we kind of move out to your outdoor space, is this huge island. This is such a great place to have people gather around, and you've got a fun story around getting the material for this, right?
So Sarah can tell you about that. This was her thing.
Yeah.
Well, we knew we wanted a big island, and I found this church railing from St. Bernard's Church on Facebook Marketplace. This gentleman had 2 huge sections of it available, super inexpensive. It was beautiful wood. And Scott and his dad in a trailer in a snowstorm went and picked it up, and you guys completely redid it and made an island around just some Menards basic cabinetry on the other side. It's nothing fancy, but it's really fabulous. I love the story.
Yeah. Look at the detailing.
History of it, the detail.
Yeah, you've got a darker wood if you're listening on the podcast with the you can see where the carvings were for the church. It's elaborate, but also simple at the same time. It's just such kind of great look to it. It's fantastic. Nice little overhang here where you've got these fantastic bar stools, which also have a story. As I understand, you're doing some wheeling and dealing.
So the stools came from a storage unit, and Sarah saw them, again, shopping online. And I could save myself a ton of work if our internet would go out. But so we went and we looked at these, and she wanted a certain price for them. I think she wanted $400 for the 4.
Yeah.
And they had dark purple fabric with a silver top on them, and they looked terrible. So she gives us a price, and then I always oh, that's way too much. They need so much work. We have this little debate between the two of us, and as this debate's happening, the price is lowering the whole time. And I think we paid it maybe $150 for the 4 of them.
I was describing it as an indirect good cop, bad cop.
Yeah.
It seems like a really good way
It's a good cop, bad cop.
Yeah.
She loves it, and she's giving me the look, and I'm like, no, they're terrible. And so there's this whole, but we got to get a deal on them because we had to work on them. So Sarah painted them, I reupholstered them, and there they are.
We could spend hours in this space. You guys talked about so many other pieces, but let's move on. I want to talk about this outdoor space, and you spend a lot of time entertaining folks. Bring us out here. Tell us a little bit
come on
about
out.
It originally started just the decking was left by the builder, and it was fine, and we enjoyed that. And but we ended up always hosting the neighbors.
So we're walking out onto a composite deck here. You've got your railing, which looks like more wood, and then your industrial kind of the bar look.
The railing didn't come with the house. It was a little more elaborate, so we tore it off right away and put in just steel piping. It's the top part of a chain link fence.
Yeah.
Is what that pipe is.
Wow. Oh, wow. That's so great. Oh, there's the cat. Famous cat.
There he is.
We were talking about the cat earlier.
Pants the cat, which is the neighborhood cat. But somehow I buy food at the Walmart every month for the neighborhood cat. Yeah, that's what happens.
Scott did this project. We did this spring. We did a built-in patio sofa, and he made a table for us. It's a great place to hang out. And we just added this, a month or so ago, just to kind of
overhang
to extend our time out here. Just so nice during the day.
Yeah. Get you beautiful shade out here under there.
Well, we were finding we couldn't use the patio because it was so hot in the sun, so we bought this sunshade and put this metal frame up, and it's super nice.
So this seating area, talk about this. This is what we've got, some wood here, and then you've got the cushions on top of it, but it's connected with the deck itself. It looks fantastic.
Yeah, we bought the cushions and kind of built around those.
Okay.
And then Scott did this planter box, just kind of his taken over the patio, but
We bought
it's a nice division space.
We bought the planter boxes over at Mrs. B's,
Yeah.
and just the 3 planter boxes, but we wanted to kind of hook them together with something. So we made a little framework to go around them so it looked more intentional, and it kind of separates that. And there was not a rail on that side of the deck.
Yeah.
So, everybody's over here having a beer, and next thing you know, so like, we better do something here.
It's all this custom stuff, but it's all stuff that you've done yourselves. I mean, that's what we're really fascinated about, how you spend your time, obviously, entertaining folks, but also just being able to enjoy the things that you do, which is to, have this beautiful look and enjoy these projects that you do on a day-on-day basis.
And the other great thing, like these chairs, these were my grandfather's chairs.
Oh,
they're
no
over
kidding.
100 years old, and the windmill in the back was Scott's grandfather's, and he had it in his garden. So we incorporate all this kind of family stuff in it too, and it just, it's so important to us to have the history too of those pieces.
It's fantastic.
We built the patio.
Yes.
So it's a brick patio. We had to build a retaining wall. And then we built the brick patio, and then we hauled all the sand. Her and I together.
Yeah.
And we were lugging bricks and up the backyard, and we spent about, 3 weeks making this thing. We brought in 30,000 pounds of material for this thing, the two of us, just lugging stuff from the alley. It was like, this is crazy.
And you were saying you didn't just build it one time.
No. So when you see these get built on TV, you think it might be easier. So we put all the material in and rented the machine and packed it all down. And then the winter snow and water packed part of it down again, only part of it. So we had to tear out all 1,200 bricks and redo the sand and
my
restack
gosh.
it. And that wasn't great. Wasn't great.
So what you see now is what it's going to be for the entirety
This is-
that we live here.
2 times is enough.
Yeah.
It looks fantastic though. You got your dining area, your seating area. You've got like this overhang, the planter. It's just fantastic. What a great place to like entertain and enjoy.
We want people to come here and feel comfortable and enjoy themselves.
Okay, we're getting close to time. Let's go downstairs. Check out where the magic happens. You got a little hangout space, and then like where you do your projects.
Right.
All right. Oh, so many things we could talk about. Just look at everything. Just looks fantastic, right? This railing, they're talking about how this is custom and
Repurposed.
repurposed. Yeah, that's the word I was looking for.
The railing came out of somebody's backyard in Kansas City. We had to cut it up with a saw to get it in our Subaru. That opens.
Of this,
There's nothing behind it, but it does open.
So we have kids from out of town that love to come stay, and we've kind of wanted to recreate our loft feel that we had down at the Tip Top. So 3 months, one winter, we just kind of buckled in and got it done, and it's turned out really
Great
nice.
use of the space.
here, ask some questions because this ceiling, I'm fascinated by it.
Yeah, tell us about the ceiling.
We didn't want this space to feel like every other house because you can tell the house is a little different. So instead of doing drywall, which makes a terrible mess also,
Yeah.
we decided to put these wood panels in the ceiling, and we loaded them all up and drug them in here. And then Sarah, for days, was staining boards and plywood and painting, and so she did all the finished work in here, including painting all the brick walls. So there was a lot to it, but we wanted the ceiling to be really cool. And then there's dark strips between all the panels, and that hides the seam. And we thought it gave a little interest to it
Yeah.
also.
Take on board and batten. Yeah, I think you've made the space really functional. Like you've got a bathroom down here, a spot to hang out and entertain, plus a place for guests to stay. Like you've really maximized
Yeah.
your space down here.
Yeah, so it was just the two of us. We did the wiring and the plumbing and the framing and the drywall and all the rest of that stuff. And so, we don't want to pay somebody to do it, and we want it our way, which is a little funky, and so you end up doing it yourself. And again, the bathroom door, Sarah bought on Facebook for $30. We drug it out of someone's garage, and
$30 is an insane number for this door because it looks like it would cost $500.
it was someone's back door in Emerson, Iowa. So we drove out there and grabbed the thing, and as soon as I saw it, I was like, "Geez, this thing is wracked." And she's like, "Yes, it's perfect." I'm like, okay,
Just the right amount of character.
I know. It needs to have
well, let's take it.
personality.
Yeah.
So
And you had to have your farmhouse sink, right?
I did. We bought that in Iowa too and drug it it from somewhere, but it's nice. It gives, when people stay, they can make coffee and have, nice little setup down here, so.
My initial thought was I was going to clean paintbrushes and stuff in there.
Sure.
Yeah, until you painted the walls white and put up the nice tile. So I actually plumbed another sink into the back room, like the storage room, so I could do that because I didn't want to clean that sink anymore.
No.
So it went from being utility to not.
It's fantastic. So you see this like obviously the brick, and then you've got like tile, this good like match of things. One of the things, Sarah, you're mentioning is like you're just picking things that you love. I mean, it's not like you're going for any particular style.
Right, and I think, it's just, if you choose items that you love and colors and whatever, just your style will evolve and just do what you like. And especially for us, I mean, we built this house for us. It has stuff that we like, and if people love it, great. If you don't, great. I mean, it's
But how could they not love it?
Well, there are some people that probably don't.
Well, screw them. We don't need that. Let's go to where the magic happens, out here in the workspace.
It's so clean.
So the garage is not always the most tidy, and this is the garage after a yesterday afternoon tidy up.
Yeah.
So it's usually not this good.
Very functional.
I'm gonna follow you.
Okay, so current project, 1953 Cushman scooter.
Oh my gosh.
And it had a little tiny 3 horsepower engine.
Look at the front of this, God.
Yeah, you can turn that. It had a little 3 horsepower engine, and the hills of downtown Omaha were too much. So I think that I can get this 18 horsepower engine in there. I bought it, so it's going in there. So I started working on that yesterday, and we've got a couple dressers that we just recently refinished.
Yeah, you were showing us those. They're like, again, these great thrift finds that you found, but like they just look so fantastic. You mind if I?
No, please go ahead. That is a 1960s, and it's made by a company called Dixie. We used to sell it at NFM, and part of the problem we've been running into lately is that when we refinish this stuff, our kids love it. So then we end up giving it to the kids. So we've got 2 dressers, and they're both going to the kids, one in Colorado Springs and one in Milwaukee. But we kind of love to get this old stuff. We paid $40 for that dresser.
It's nuts.
And spent maybe 5 hours refinishing it. We sanded the whole thing down.
You're just sanding?
I sanded the whole thing
Like,
all the way.
yeah.
Well, with a power sander.
Yeah.
But yeah, and that only took about 5 hours. And what I loved was there was no repair.
Okay.
The other one,
This one?
yeah, right behind it,
Harder to see, but I'll just kind of flip
yeah,
up
and it's a
little bit
really
here.
cool piece, and we made it a little funky, but it needed a lot of repair. All the drawers were broken, and so it needed more done to it.
That finish is fantastic, though.
But-
Just
Yeah, they're cool, and
Keeping it in the family.
yeah, well, so we give them to the kids, and they're happy with them, and some equipment there, and we have welders and grinders, and surprisingly, we don't have a lot of equipment.
yeah, that is surprising. I kind of thought
would've
it would be
expected
like
more, honestly.
wall of workspace, but it's really, I mean, considering the kinds of work that you're doing, where you're like redoing furniture, you're building furniture, and then you're like upholstering. And you're like doing stuff outside. You talked about like plumbing and like all this kind of stuff. I would assume like wall to wall, but it's really pretty reasonable.
You don't need all that fancy stuff. And I think sometimes people think you've got to have all these fancy machines and all this stuff. And if you want to make a 100% perfect piece, you probably do. But we're looking for a 90% piece, because when you use it, a 100% piece will be a 90% piece in 6 months.
Yeah.
So we try to get it there, and it's a lot easier, faster, and you don't need all that equipment.
Yeah. Well, I wonder if you can end by telling us a little bit about like how this space is a reflection of the things that you want to accomplish. You feel like it's like totally nailing this vibe of entertaining, this idea that you can like do these DIY projects. To me, it's like such a good reflection of that. But I'd love your thoughts on making the space your own, like literally, because you built it from the ground up, and now you're living in it.
We drew this thing on a piece of paper and then gave it to the architect and said, fix this, because there's probably dumb stuff we did, right? But we wanted a space that allowed us to do this kind of work, and we keep a couple other cars in here in the wintertime that are, other places, and we bring them here and do work on them in the winter, and I wanted a place to be able to do that. Upstairs, we want to bring people to the house, bring people to our home and show them a good time and take care of them. And the place is really designed for that. Someday when we go to sell it, we'll have to find the right person that wants to do that also.
Yeah.
But we weren't worried about that when we were building it.
Right. But I mean, to your point, that is something that if you're interested in this kind of thing, you may want to consider like trying that balance. We talked about that in the last episode.
Yeah.
This time you're like, we know what we want. We're going full board. And I think there's something to be said about like people really making their space their own.
Yeah, you live here. This is what you do. It's where you spend all your time. Make it how you want it. And we did.
Yeah. Well, that's going to do it for us. Thank you so much for inviting us in your home. Sarah, Scott, Hilary, of course, and Scott and Renee for helping us kind of pull this episode together impromptu. It's kind of really thrown together, but I think it's fantastic, and I think we learned a lot along the way. I want to thank everyone who's listening, of course. Remember to subscribe, rate, and review the I Am Home podcast. Then head over to nfm.com to learn more about our company and shop 24/7 for today's top furnishing styles. We'll be back again soon with another episode. Till then, remember, home is what you make it.
Thanks for joining us today for I Am Home with Tyler Weisskopf, Hilary Waltemath, and Becca Sudbeck. No one knows home quite like NFM. So if you'd like more information on home design at NFM, please check out nfm.com and leave us a review on the podcast platform of your choice.